Middle of the table in La Liga is clearly not where Barcelona wants to be at this stage of the season. And well, I don't believe that this is a position in which the Catalan club will remain forever. The environment is slowly but surely heating up. Some of you could say that it's reaching boiling point. To be completely straightforward with you guys, I am not one to share this sentiment. I am most of the time look at positive things, as I do believe that in, for instance, this scenario, Ronald Koeman has done a good enough job per se as to what I anticipated. This is not in terms of the results certainly, but in terms of providing Barcelona with a cleaner slate from which to work with. Yet, not too many people seem to agree with me on this one, because they link the underperforming of the club with Koeman's management. And let's make it clear, the 4 tremendous errors that have led all to goals which has cost Barcelona precious points are things that Koeman cannot fix. So just for the sake of answering a dumb question that perhaps not all Barcelona fans are confident in saying, but some are certainly thinking of, we will value in today's episode and weigh up 1. Ronald Koeman's influence on the dressing room, 2. the results on their team under his management, and 3. the tactics of the Dutch coach. Let's forget all preconceptions, all prejudices, and begin reviewing Ronald Koeman's first few months at Barcelona. What's going on, guys? ¿Cómo están? BugaLuis here, and welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It is immensely appreciated. I have to admit that I need to continue to do better with the consistency of this series on the channel and the other videos, but just like you know, I'm in university, I'm in my final year, so I do have to make some cuts here and there when it comes to YouTube producing, but do not worry, I got that under control. Anyhow, I would like to begin off this episode by explaining the current state of Barcelona with Koeman, because his situation is very different in contrast to many managers before him. In part, yes, the Dutch manager was brought in to win trophies, the Champions League, etc. But above all, in my opinion, was brought in to be nothing more than the villain of the movie. On the one hand, if everything goes right, he could just make a claim to continue and fair play. You know what? You did a good job. Continue, Ronald Koeman. You got my vouch. But on the other, if he failed, Barcelona could just simply wipe their hands clean. Additionally, Ronald Koeman should have and has taken the fall for some heavy drastic decisions, be it basically single-handedly kicking out Luis Suarez, Rakitic and Arturo Vidal, and likewise potentially be the manager which has to endure Lionel Messi leaving. Let's not forget the elections and the resignation of Bartomeu and his board, brought with very little, given very little, and expected a lot from. Ronald Koeman, in my eyes, is always a man that will deserve the benefit of the doubt. The dressing room of any team is something very difficult to control for any manager at that matter. Ronald Koeman immediately made some impact, a negative one at that, for as he said, 2 very different opposing versions of his relationship with the players. As soon as he was signed as Barcelona manager, back in the 19th of August, Koeman took no time, and I mean no time, like literally 1 or 2 days, in shaking the key of the hierarchy links within the dressing room. The South American core of Suarez, Messi and Vidal was broken down, and so did the midfielders by decree like a Rakitic. Gone. Additionally, Koeman seemingly made verdicts on every other veteran player, Alba, Piqué, Busquets. As a consequence, these veterans have not responded in the best way to his managerial appointment. Not in a horrible, cataclysmic way, let's make it clear, but in an indifferent one, as they have done so already with Ernesto Valverde and Quique Setien. This is because Ronald Koeman, who came with a commanding presence and wanted to change the entire club from the bottom to the top, he had to withhold his complete remodelation because of financial issues. Ask yourself this question: do you believe that players like Gerard Piqué, Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets and even Martin Braithwaite would have stayed if it wasn't for the club's financial restrictions? I believe the answer would be no. Since this didn't happen, Koeman had a lot to lose, and a bit of that intimidation was also lost in the process. The veterans then didn't respond to his messages, and as a result, they are not being transmitted properly to them. In contrast, the actions he has taken have responded well on the young crop of players, one which the club severely increased after the signings of Sergiño Dest, Francisco Trincao, and someone like Pedri. How, you may be wondering, how can there be such a distinct difference? Well, because youth. Just like me and you perhaps, I don't know, maybe you may be a little bit older. Youth has always been the synonym for a learning sponge. The ability to grasp new concepts of younger persons is that much greater of an older one. Koeman has reactively gotten the best out of the under-23s. Not only are they willing to work for the system that he's putting in place, but on top of that, they are willing to fail. They are willing to fail and try again to gain a spot on the side. Because let's remember, in contrast to the older ones, this season is just the start. They could win 2 years, 4 years, 5 years from now. The older guys over 30, they don't have that. It is solely because of this reason that I'm willing to give Ronald Koeman a pass in this section. Right now, Barcelona is in a transitional period, and in terms of what Koeman is doing with youngsters, is enough for me to let him off the hook in this one. Yes, Riqui Puig is not playing as much as you want to. Yes, Riqui Puig is the next world superclass midfielder. We all know. Calm down, guy, calm down. He has given more than enough chances to people like Trincao to develop a bit. We're seeing him play. Pedri, the very same thing. Ansu Fati was starting from the get-go. We're talking about 17-year-old, which was one of the most important players for the very first games of the season. Koeman is doing more than enough in that case. And I continue to emphasize on this selected group of individuals. And in addition, I'm also bringing people like Coutinho and Dembele in, because so far Koeman is getting at least enough from them. Coutinho, of course, can play a lot better. Dembele has been doing okay so far. His injury is certainly at the point of recording this video slowing his progression, but let's be completely honest in saying that we are seeing new faces, and that is what he was brought in to do a rebuild, and we are not seeing the same players as we did before. We are seeing new faces, and that is good enough for me. I'm seeing a new Barcelona in this. It may be still a bad one, but it's still a new one. In terms of the results, of course, is not where we want to be. Right now, Barcelona, at the moment of recording, we are 9th in La Liga. And the Champions League, we are just literally one game away from winning potentially all of the group stage games. So that is a positive. Copa del Rey, Supercopa of España, we don't know because that hasn't really started. But it's really early to say whether Barcelona are bad, are good, because there's so many more games to go. If you just want to take this small sample size, do it, be my guest. I have to admit, of course, it's not the best. But yes, I had anticipated potentially better results. This Barcelona team is young, is naive, and most importantly, it's not really relying on Messi that much. Which is something that it can be good, but it can also be bad. On the one hand, you are having new players kind of gain that sense of responsibility, taken away from it from Messi, but on the other hand, you still want Messi to get you those 3 points at the end of the day, and that's mostly probably what he wants as well. We also have to potentially add on top of this that those goal-leading mistakes, which I just mentioned at the start of this video, are things that Koeman really shouldn't be blamed for because he has no influence whatsoever on them. How can the manager be literally blamed for Ter Stegen coming out of his goal line for the Atletico Madrid goal? Whose fault is that? That is not the manager. And let's say it's the fault of Ronald Koeman. What do you want him to do? To go to Ter Stegen and say, hey Ter Stegen, you shouldn't do that. That is obvious. Obviously, even the German goalkeeper knows that. So if you're thinking that that is the right way to blame a manager, the right way to make criticism, and the right way to investigate at what really is happening at Barcelona, you are, sorry, let me tell you, but not smart enough to watch this sport. We got one pass, we got one fail so far. Now let's move into the most controversial section, which are the tactics. Ronald Koeman is, of course, trying to present to us the 4-2-3-1, which in most cases and most scenarios, it actually works in my opinion. We really do see a team that is flexible, a team that has very interchanging pieces, and that overall attacks well, but that is when you have the right players onto the field. The best performances of Barcelona this season has come with Ansu Fati through the left. Not particularly because Ansu Fati is the next best sensation, but because we have a winger playing there. Just like the video that I made recently on Martin Braithwaite, I explained how much importance there is in actually having the right players in their positions. And there we saw Ansu Fati, we saw Philippe Coutinho and Messi. Messi playing through the middle, Coutinho playing as well. Antoine Griezmann was the odd one out, and by trying to fit Antoine Griezmann more centrally, we are starting to see a team that is once again debalanced. Unbalanced, because that is the right way to say that word. So yes, indeed, we are seeing a team that is struggling to fit the right pieces into the right holes. And I believe that this is where Ronald Koeman is really struggling a bit, because he's kind of counteracting his own tactics. He wants to make this kind of high pressing 4-2-3-1 work, and you're still continuing to put Sergio Busquets into the team, a player that is not comfortable in defending counterattacks. If you just take him out and then add somebody else like Carles Aleñá, like Riqui Puig, like Sergi Roberto, like Miralem Pjanic, a player that can simply run a little bit more, cover those spaces that Busquets is not, then you might be seeing a better team. The problem with Koeman's tactics is not that it's particularly bad, but he's not helping, once again, like I just said, himself in putting the wrong players. If you start the best lineup possible, then you potentially will see a good 4-2-3-1. That is why we're seeing precisely, without the biggest names on the team, that is where Barcelona plays the best. Why? Because you're actually giving the chances to those players that are fighting for that system, that are fighting to make that system work. The 4-3-1 is not really working when you have all of the big names there, because altogether they don't fit into a right collective. Therefore, I have to give Ronald Koeman here a fail as well, and we end up with a total of 2 fails and 1 pass. So wrapping this video up, guys, I want to know your opinions as to where you will go from here. Ronald Koeman for me is the right direction so far, because as an interim coach he's potentially the best that we can get. He can get that message across and get the youngsters playing more and the right players in the right positions. We could be seeing a team that in the long term of things could give other bigger teams a headache. With this, I'm not saying the Messi should be gone off the first team, certainly not. But just by sending the message that Koeman must change some things, then that's where he will regain the trust and the command of that dressing room. He has the capabilities to do so, it's only whether he wants to take that risk or not. That's gonna be everything for right now, guys. Hope you have enjoyed this video. Be sure to let me know in the comments down below once again, what would you do with Ronald Koeman? How would you be assessing his managerial reign so far over Barcelona? And be sure to check out these 2 videos on screen right now and subscribe so you don't miss any one of the new ones that we'll be uploading here on the channel. See you on the next one. Take care. Ciao, ciao.